Okay, we've got some more work done on the B9. It's getting really close to finishing up now. You know, if I had an idea on what I'm doing with the audio side of things, then you know I could finish it up within a week, I reckon. But I'm still sort of fiddling around with that. So meanwhile, I'm just getting everything else, all the little details painted up, and you know, getting ready to put it together. I have sort of worked out a battery compartment system for this thing. Actually, before we get onto that, when I was putting this together, I had, well, I mentioned previously there's a little socket and pin that goes in between here, which I didn't like seeing it, so I cut that off, and I've got one sort of in the middle, which you can't see, but it's sort of in, I don't know, no, you can't really see it, but it's in between these two panels here, and it's just right in the center. I just glued, you know, whatever it was, 2mm piece of styrene, painted silver along the edge. But anyway, that was just to get rid of the little nubs there. But as I was putting it together, I didn't really read the instructions because it seemed pretty simple. But you know, you've got these hinges here. Well, I'd glued the hinges on this piece and then glued it on this piece, and you know, being fairly particular, I glued them straight, like perpendicular, so that everything was lined up. Well, when I put it together, I don't know if you can see the alignment here, it's just a little bit out. This gap here was like 5 mil. It was really big gap, and I thought to myself, what the hell's going on? What did I do wrong? Can't really stuff that up. Well, I read the instructions, and it actually says not to glue these pieces in at that time, because once you put it together, as you can see, they're kind of on an angle, they're not straight, which I thought was weird. So I have no idea if the proper robot is like that, or it's just something that they had to, like, you know, there's a bit of a manufacturing problem, they didn't plan it out right, I don't know. But I mean, there's also, once you put this piece on, that's got the pin, so that sort of dictates where these pieces are going to be. So you can't, they have to go, you know, slanted in order for this gap to close. Anyway, that's just a bit of information there about that. But underneath, we've included the switch here, which is going to turn everything on. So we just sort of got to tilt it and then flick it over. And then, if you remember that this panel is magnetized, so I can just slide this out, and I've got the batteries on there like that. Now, I didn't think I was going to do that before, so these magnets aren't really that strong, so they will stay, but if you bang it hard enough, it'll pop open. So I might have to work something else out with that, but for the moment, it's staying like that. I drilled holes here to allow the wiring to run through, and then you've got the little can things that sit there, and then you've got this on top. Now, what I've done with this piece, excuse me, is because this top piece is going to pivot or rotate around, excuse me, I've made these two arcs, cut out these holes so that the wiring can go through it, and the same on this top piece. So once they line up, there'll be a little pin at the back here that'll glue that and hold it together. Once they line up in there, you can pretty much turn it 90 degrees without twisting any wires. The wires on each side will, the hole will always be in the same place, so it won't twist any wires. You can go further if you wanted to, if you do 180, and it will start twisting the wire, but you know, make sure that they remember not to do that, because I mean, if you keep going one direction, you're going to end up pulling the wires off. But anyway, yeah, so that's the modification I've done to that. Just wanted to show you before I sealed everything up. And I've glued in the photo etch pieces here, and the front programming panel, which has a sliding door, which is pretty cool. Now, just another note on that too, if you're building this kit, what I did is I put glue on the outside edge here, not underneath where you would think you'd put it, so it'll sit down, because what happens is when this piece is too tight, the door doesn't open and close, regardless if it get glue on it or not. So I just sort of pushed it up against it and read some CA in there and along there, and yeah, it sits nice and snug and the door slides freely. So hopefully any of these vids are helping you guys out if you're building it and getting up to these problems. What else we got? We got the torso section here, which I've painted and the sort of inundated areas where it's recessed, I guess you'd probably call it. Metallic grey, and also in that section now I've decided to go metallic grey. I've seen some people do this whole thing here, which I think looks cool, but I don't think it's like that, so I'm not sure. That was the way I was going to go, but I just stuck with that. So now I just need to, I found it easier to try paint that grey first, and it's all like freehand that in there, and then mask it up and paint this silver again. It was just too difficult to mask the reverse way. And in saying that, it isn't really that bad of a job to respray it anyway in silver. It's a bit of fogged in metallic grey basically. It doesn't look too bad, but nevertheless I will paint it silver again. Excuse me. The other piece we've got done is this front light bit, all the switches at the front, which still need to put the decals on it. So I painted it from the rear, just so I thought it would look better once the light goes behind it, than trying to paint the front, and easier as well. And also because there's going to be decals on the top, I thought it would look better, the decals on the plastic instead of over this, brush painted. Painted to look all bubbly and stuff. So anyway, that's that piece, and then I have to make this little box here with a couple of LEDs at the back and frosted bit of clear acetate, just to light that up, and it's also light blocked with this liquid lead black stuff that I've been using, which is similar to your tulip, like I mentioned before. I think it's slick tulip or tulip slick, something like that. Something like that. Yeah, so that's just a little box I have to make for that, so there's no light spill anywhere else. And similarly with the voice box area, I'm not sure if I mentioned in the previous video, but I did cut out that piece of plastic there, and I glued in the clear neon light stuff there, and then I just made these little panels behind it, which is, like I said, just clear acetate. And what I've done is just sanded it, I think with 800 grit sandpaper, just sanded both sides just to just to rough it up and make it frosty. And then I hit it sorry, excuse me guys. And then I hit it with a bit of matte coat, and then what did I do? Oh, I put a bit of Tamiya smoke over it, which is why it's got a bit of a greyish tint to it. So hopefully doing all that, it's going to diffuse the light that I put behind it for when he speaks, if he ever speaks. And that's pretty much it. No, sorry, one more thing. I've been working on this little circuit board that goes on the side, which the power pack I think they call it. I'm not sure if we're going to get focus. Oh yeah, here we go. So yeah, a lot of detail paint in there, which is a bit of fun. They've actually got a good guide in the instructions on how to paint it up, which colours, which I pretty much stuck to that and just did my own thing, I guess. They also have the programming panel there, what to paint. So all in all, the instructions are really good. There's a few areas in this kit which I was a bit surprised being Mobius, but all in all, you just figure it out and go ahead. But the instruction side of it, I think they've done a good job, especially with the painting. That's it. Anyway, hopefully the next update you see will be the final, unless I do an update on the audio section. But quite possibly the final. But anyway, I'll catch you on the next one. See you later.